The winning streak for President Trump never seems to end, which is really bad news for blue state governors and their Antifa-infested cities. As we speak, Trump and the Supreme Court are once again teaming up to crush woke Democrats and their vision for a post-America socialist nightmare. Make sure to stick with the very end of this video because we're about to see how a 200-year-old Supreme Court case is about to officially end the feudal Democrat resistance and establish MAGA dominance in American politics for the foreseeable future. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, enjoying yet another wonderful day in America's golden age that you made possible back on November the 5th. So if you want a front row seat on how you continue to change the world in ways you never even imagined, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. As I'm sure you're all well aware, Democrat governors are desperately doing their darndest to protect and defend Antifa radicals and the harassment of ICE agents and federal law enforcement. And they're doing that by taking President Trump to court over his use of federal authority to deploy the National Guard to states over the objections of their governors and their local officials. Now, these states are arguing that Trump's federalization of their National Guard units to enforce federal immigration law or quell unrest violates state sovereignty and oversteps the president's constitutional powers. That's right. The very same politicians, Democrat politicians, that a mere few years ago, during the whole COVID insanity, imposed and enforced the single most draconian measures in our nation's history. So much so that the Supreme Court had to intervene and overturn virtually every single executive order and federal mandate. Yeah, that party now wants to hide behind the 10th Amendment. They want to hide behind states' rights. And of course, they cherry pick radical leftist activists disguised as judges to issue injunctions preventing the president from fulfilling his constitutional law enforcement responsibilities. But now it appears that the left-wing judicial activists have officially met their match. And ironically, it's a match that's been in the making for 200 years. And it's about to hand Trump his 30th consecutive Supreme Court victory. That match is a Supreme Court case called Martin versus Mott. Now, you probably never heard of it, but it's the legal nuclear weapon that's about to obliterate every sanctuary city's defiance. Back in 1827, the Supreme Court ruled that when the president calls out the militia, what we now call the National Guard, that decision is, quote, conclusive upon all other persons. In other words, the president, as the commander-in-chief of our nation's armed forces, alone has jurisdiction over how those forces are or are not used. And here's the key. That jurisdiction is absolute. According to the Supreme Court, there are no exceptions, no judicial review, no state veto power. The court was crystal clear. The president's authority to decide whether an emergency exists belongs exclusively to the president. His decision cannot be questioned by anyone, not governors, not mayors, and certainly not activist federal judges. In the end, only voters, only we, the people, have ultimate authority over what the president does. Yet, here we are in 2025, watching failed blue states like Illinois and California pretend that they can override the commander-in-chief. Well, they're about to learn why the founding fathers gave this power to one person, not 50 different state governments. Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller's legal team just filed a devastating brief with the Supreme Court, and they are appealing precisely to Martin versus Mott as the decisive decision that will destroy any remaining legal resistance against President Trump and his constitutional authority to deploy military force as he sees fit.
Look, we live in an environment where large portions of the Democratic Party have become violently radicalized. We have now daily incidences of vehicle ramming against ICE officers. We have constant nonstop doxing threats against public officials, against federal law enforcement. Nonstop death threats, nonstop violence against federal officers out in the street conducting their duties. Mobs form. Individuals begin striking at, throwing at, hurling rocks at ICE officers. We had a vehicle ramming attack outside a Coast Guard facility. So the Democrat Party, through years of indoctrination, as well as through importing radicals into the country, through migration policy, as well as through implanting in the judiciary, in our legal system, like-minded radicals, have created this incredibly dangerous moment for our republic. In my own case, we obviously take all the precautions we can take in light of the death threats, in light of the domestic terrorism environment that we're dealing with. But my responsibility as a member of this administration is to protect the American people and the responsibility of everyone that I work with all throughout the government underneath President Trump, and to reassure the public that domestic terrorists are going to lose, we are going to crush them, and we're going to fulfill the mandate that the American people voted for in 2024 in making America safe, clean, and beautiful. And yes, we are going to enforce our national sovereignty, and those who trespassed into our country will be returned to their country of origin or any other country willing to take them, because that's what the law requires, and that's what having a nation requires.
And the amazing news in all of this is that the Ninth Circuit, traditionally the most liberal court in America, it's often referred to as the Ninth Circuit, they already sided with Trump twice in 2 weeks. Twice in 2 weeks. If Trump can win twice in 2 weeks with the Ninth Circuit, the most liberal court in the country, the Supreme Court's a slam dunk. It's not even going to be close. You see, here's what blue state governors don't, they do understand. They hate it. Like they hate everything else in our country, and they're doing everything they can to evade it. When they resist federal immigration enforcement, they are not just defying Trump. They are defying a constitutional structure and order that's existed since 1827. The Supreme Court already told us in Martin versus Mott that the president's militia authority is not subject to judicial review. When Trump determines that regular federal forces are not sufficient to enforce immigration law and deal with Antifa-infested enforcement interference, that determination is final. That determination is not made by a judge. A federal judge cannot hide behind procedural concerns to justify what is, in effect, an Article 3 overruling of the president's Article 2 executive powers. Chicago's police superintendent already basically admitted that they're obstructing federal law enforcement. Again, this is not resistance. This is sedition. This is open rebellion. And the president has explicit constitutional authority to put down rebellions using the National Guard. And it's the revitalization of that authority through the Supreme Court that is precisely what is guaranteeing the dominance of MAGA and Trump's America First agenda for decades to come. Wait until you see this. But first, it's not just MAGA, it's MAHA as well. We can't save our country if we don't first take care of our own health. And that's where our good friends over at Brightcore come in and their amazing Revive Collagen. Now, I take this stuff every single day, and I absolutely love it. If you don't know, collagen is the main structural protein found in skin and other connective tissues, and it's one of the most important building blocks for healthy skin, joints, hair, nails. But as we age, our natural collagen levels decline. So that's why Brightcore created Revive Collagen. So you can restore and replenish collagen in an easy, convenient powder that mixes right into your favorite drink. No clumps, no bad taste, no hassle. Each serving delivers 5 types of collagen along with hyaluronic acid, biotin, and vitamin C to maximize absorption and results. Gang, seriously, both my wife and I, we drink Revive every single day, and we absolutely love it. People are noticing smoother skin, stronger hair and nails, and improved mobility and joint comfort. Many also report a natural boost in energy and overall vitality. Revive is all natural, it's non-GMO, proudly made right here in the USA, completely dairy-free, gluten-free, soy-free, so just about anyone can take it. Again, I personally love knowing I'm supporting my joints and appearance in one simple daily steps. So if you've been looking for a way to look younger, move easier, and feel better from the inside out, gang, this is it. You're going to love it. You can get 25% off your order by going to the link below or go to mybrightcore.com/Turley. Or for an even better deal, give my friends at Brightcore a call. I mean, if you call them, they'll give you up to 50% off plus free shipping. They love Turley Talkers, so they can't wait to talk to you. Give them a call at 888-597-0233, 888-597-0233. First 100 callers to order are also going to get a free collagen sheet mask. I got one. You're going to love it, too. Again, that number is 888-597-0233. Many on the political left are calling Trump's unprecedented second term a Trumpocalypse, a destruction of our nation's democratic norms, institutions, and protocols. Barack Obama, that walking skeletal corpse who helped engineer the fabrication of the Russian collusion hoax that deliberately sought to sabotage a sitting U.S. president. Yeah, that same guy, yeah. He has the gall to be out there complaining about politicians targeting civil society, weaponizing the justice system, and undermining the freedom of the press. I mean, it's so patently pathetic given how he and his fellow demon rats deliberately interfered in the democratic integrity of an election, numerous presidential elections at this point. But what these establishment shills are not telling you is that what's really happening here with President Trump is, yes, he is most certainly destroying norms, institutions, and protocols, but the norms, institutions, and protocols of a radically unconstitutional order ruled by unelected bureaucrats and protected and defended by shills like Obama. That is what Trump is destroying. That is the real Trumpocalypse. It all goes back to another Supreme Court decision, 1935, Humphrey's executor decision. So that decision for the last 90 years has been the deep state's ultimate shield. That decision basically made it illegal for the president to fire bureaucrats on commissions. And as such, that decision created an untouchable class of federal commissioners who could ignore presidents, defy voters, and push their own agenda without consequence. Humphrey's executor created an entire class, a permanent political class of unelected bureaucrats who have largely dictated the domestic and international policies of the federal government. Presidents come and go, but the unelected bureaucracy is permanent. And they're the ones who have ultimately been calling the shots in how our country is governed for decades now. These were political operatives embedded in permanent positions, writing regulations with the force of law while answering to absolutely no one. That is until last September. I mean, literally weeks ago when the Supreme Court made one of their most shocking decisions yet, siding with President Trump that he does in fact have the right to remove agency heads as he sees fit. So basically what the Supreme Court is in the process of doing here is overturning Humphrey and restoring constitutional rule back to the chief executive. Article 2 vests the executive power in the president alone, ultimately, and requires him to take care that laws be faithfully executed. That's why the president is called the chief executive. And what this means plainly and simply is that it is the president and the president alone who has complete and total control over everyone in the executive branch, bar none, including, of course, the National Guard. So the Trumpocalypse, in the end, ironically, is simply the return to constitutional rule. We, the people, voted for MAGA policies to dominate D.C., not unelected bureaucrats, and that is exactly what Trump is giving us and what the Supreme Court is affirming his right to do. All of this means, as you heard in the words of Stephen Miller, law and order will indeed prevail all across our nation. Antifa and the domestic terrorists are going to lose. Trump's about to get his 30th Supreme Court victory because the Constitution is absolutely unambiguous on this point. The president commands the military, period. No exceptions. Full stop, as an auto pen justice would say. Blue state governors can throw all the woke tantrums they want. They can file all the lawsuits they want. They can activate every liberal federal judge they want. But Martin versus Mott settled this question 200 years ago, and no amount of Trump derangement syndrome can change 200 years of constitutional precedent. The National Guard belongs to the president when he calls them into federal service. Always has, always will. And now, blue state governors and their Antifa thugs are about to learn what that really means the hard way. If today's message resonated with you, you'll love Turley Walks, my free preview of the Courageous Patriot Club. More stories, more perspective, more community, focus on faith, family, and freedom. And it's absolutely free. Go to turley.pub/turleywalks.